Okay, welcome everyone. We're gonna play with the long lost squat today. We know it as malasana in the yoga world, and uh, in a couple recent classes, I have introduced the idea of standing straight up out of the shape, and I thought I would dissect that idea a little bit more today, um, in a way to help take the pressure off, take any anxiety off with that idea, and just kind of break it down. So we're going to start today with malasana at the wall on the bolster. Have a block or two handy today. Now, the shape could look a lot like this for some people. The feet could be out further away. We do like to have some support. And with time, with practice, you just start to kind of move the heels in closer. A result of knee flexion, ankle flexion. There has to be enough release in the heel tendons and the calf muscles. And then to curve forward, there has to be enough movement in the hips and especially the low back. For some people, there's a lot of compression in the belly, which might be the most uncomfortable situation. Okay, and so just it's okay, just let the shape have its way. That's what the floor is for. That's what the wall is for. It's what a little bolster support is for. And you could add a block underneath. We're going to relax the neck and head. We're going to drop the shoulders. We're going to contemplate the compressive forces and the sensations they bring. If doable, bring the heels in a little closer and or inch forward a little bit. You can scoot forward, diminishing the distance between you and your lower legs and feet. I call it the long lost squat because before modern day conveniences, the shape was necessary. We practiced it fairly often, maybe 2 or 3 times a day. You even say that chairs and automobiles contribute to the diminishment of this shape. Release your hands. Bring your hands to the bolster and push into the bolster and see if you can roll across the toes. We're just going to pause on the toes a brief moment. So, if doable, roll across the toes, bring the knees to the mat, release the feet back, legs still parallel, little space between the feet. And now, similarly, we sink back toward the heels, reach the arms out in front, let the belly come toward the thighs, the sit bones toward the heels, the hamstrings and the calf muscles compress against each other. There's compression in the knees. And the arms reach out in front, keeping the elbows straight. Now, your shape could look anything in between all fours, like this, and sinking back. Everything is a progression. You're not trying to make your shape look like mine or anybody else's. All cues are directional in nature, so we're moving forward. Full compression of the hips and knees. And by the way, it's not just bones and joints and fascia that like to be compressed and cleansed and squeezed like this, but the contents of the abdomen, even the contents of the rib cage, compression, if we can get it, it's not easy, but compression against the lungs, the heart space, it keeps them sliding. You can get adhesions around various organs just the same as we can get them anywhere else. Reach away, spread the fingers. As you reach into the mat, maybe you're able to press back, moving your sit bones toward the heels. Remember, we're bumping into healing sensation in the knees, in the low back, and the hips, maybe even in the shoulders here. Move a couple compressive breaths. You're going to feel the compression against the thighs and the belly. Move a little bigger breath into your upper back. Release the breath and then come back to all fours. Pause a moment in all fours. And let's have some simple movement of the spine. We're going to move the whole back side toward the ceiling, which is indicative of this squatting shape, right? So draw the belly up, shoulders away from the ears. Try not to strain the head and neck forward, but keep the neck and head neutral. You can even lift the head a tiny bit toward the ceiling, retruding the chin some. So put your effort into the belly. Draw the belly up, up, up. Squeeze the contents of the belly here. And then release and let your whole spine start to sag toward the floor like a hammock. The shoulders hike toward the ceiling a bit. We still move them away from the ears. Yeah, feel the difference in the breath here. Sit bones toward the ceiling, shoulders toward the ceiling a little bit as the rib cage hangs from the shoulders. And you can play with engaging the muscles on the back of your body now. And when they engage, they extend the spine. So it holds us upright. Back to neutral. Now bring the right shoulder toward the right hip. And as important, the right hip toward the right shoulder. So now we go for this side bending. Yes, the spine side bends, but we have to use the muscles here to do that. So pull the right hip toward the right shoulder. Keep your nose pointing straight down towards your right hand. Right ear toward the right shoulder. So we side bend the neck using the muscles in the neck. We side bend the spine using the muscles along the right side of the spine, the right side of the spine, and the left side of the spine releases. Draw the belly up a bit. Pull the shoulder toward the hip, right hip toward the shoulder. And then you get this compressive quality right down in the right waistline. Release to the center. Left hip toward the left shoulder toward the left hip. Put a squeeze in these muscles in the waistline and the many, many muscles along the spine. Retrude the chin a little bit, lifting the nose directly toward the ceiling. So the back of the head behind the nose toward the ceiling. Okay, let's go back through the center to the right side. Pull the right hip toward the right shoulder. If you're not used to these movements, it's a little awkward. It might feel a little bit spastic. Okay, so just keep playing with it. It's how we learn to ride a bicycle. We wobble around a little bit. Eventually we dial it in, get the muscles to cooperate, and get the generous movement that comes with it. Right hip, right shoulder. Back through the center. Left hip, left shoulder to the left hip. Nose straight down towards your hand. Back of the head toward the ceiling. Left ear toward the left shoulder a bit. Okay, back to the center. Draw the belly up. Lift the belly button. Lift it, lift it, lift it. Compress the contents of the belly. Retrude the chin. Bring the back of the head toward the ceiling some. That way we don't strain the neck. It's kind of already a pattern that we tend to have. Draw the belly up. Press into the hands, press into the knees. And then let everything drop. Your belly, your spine hang like a hammock. Shoulders, sit bones toward the ceiling. Okay, now open your eyes and stand up. Make your way to standing, however you need to stand. We're going to have a standing shape here that that plays into knee health in a big way. So we're going to have the heels lined up with the back edge of the mat, toes in, heels out, hands on the waist. Fairly wide stance, but not so wide that you can't effectively get the heels out and straighten the knees. So there's a spiraling quality down through the legs. We bring the pubic bone toward the ceiling, your tailbone toward the floor, hands on the waist. Firm your thighs. When we firm the thighs, the kneecaps lift because the quadriceps are attached to the kneecap, so they lift, and we get this compression on the back side of the kneecap against the bones, against the deeper part of the knee joint. Feel that compression. We want to keep the surfaces of the knee joint healthy. That's the two big bones, the femur head and the tibial plateau, where those two bones come together. But the kneecap is right on the front side, and it articulates with those two big bones as well. Now, turn the left foot out about 90 degrees. And that should allow you to move the right heel back a little bit, turning the right foot in a little more. Hands can still be on your waist. Firm your legs here. We're not doing anything else with the pelvis. All we're doing is resting the hands on the hip bones and firming the legs. Getting the compressive qualities into the knees. Why the focus on the knees? Because the knees are, when we go into a squat and come up out of a squat, it's the knees that are the more vulnerable part. So we're giving some nice conditioning to the knees here. The right leg stays straight. Press down into the right heel. The left knee slowly bends. Press back into the right heel as the left knee bends. This shape is remarkable for the knees. We could call it hip work, there's footwork, ankle work, all that. But the slow bend of the left knee in this case is very conditioning for the knee joint and the patella, the kneecap. So if you start to bend the knee and you feel a little bit of strong feedback, then you just stop. We don't have to go to 90 degrees. There's nothing magical about any of that. It's just that we move toward 90 degrees. Work with the sensation along the way. Okay, that's excellent. Straighten the left knee. Okay, toes in, heels out. Knees straight. Pubic bone toward the ceiling. Tailbone toward the floor. Turn the right foot out 90 degrees. Inch the left heel back. Firm the thighs again. Rest the hands on the waist. Just feel the compressive forces. Feel the full use of your quadriceps. Maybe you can feel how as you lift the right kneecap, engaging the quadriceps, you feel it compress against the bone underneath. Left knee straight as well. Feel down through the whole leg into the left heel and keep some awareness there. Keep with those details. Slowly, slowly bend the right knee. So we keep reaching back. We transfer for some weight into the right foot as the right knee bends. Again, we're not pulling the hips back. We're not doing anything special with the hips. We're really focusing on the legs and your two knees. If you're wondering what to do with your eyes, you can turn your head and look in the same direction as your right toes are pointing. Okay, straighten the right knee. Turn the right toes in, heels out. One more time, firming the quadriceps. Firm your legs here. Okay, and then release the shape. And the bolster is going to go back to the wall. And you may grab a block. And here we can add the block as necessary to always to support the shape. Or in the case of today, we're going to practice standing from the shape. So with or without the block, seated in the shape, just as we opened the practice, try to diminish the distance between you and your heels. Curve forward, clasp your hands. Okay, now our yoga shapes are like fine wine. We do not serve it before it's time. We don't try to push a shape before we're really ready. Who cares if you're ever able to stand up from a squat? It really matters not. The benefits really come from the shape itself. So rather than push or have some sort of judgment about whether or not you can do something physically, let's just keep this super practical. So you could add one block. Two might be a little precarious, but you might be able to add one block to facilitate. And here's the super important thing. The super important thing is having a 15-pound Havanese come join you just at the right time. The super important thing is really listening to the feedback. It's pretty funny that Charlie showed up here because I sometimes use him. I literally use him. That was just perfectly on cue. So watch this. See, as we come up from the squat, sometimes a little counterweight, the hands out in front, can be helpful to stand. He knows his job. And we stand up. But the sensation in the knees and especially into the back of the upper calves can be strong. And so when you use your hands, you just play with it. So it might look like this. You might come up a little bit, too demanding. Rest. Come up a little bit. Now it's true, you can roll up onto the toes, and that changes the dynamic because it takes the calf muscles out of it, and maybe you stand up using the toes. But so there's different ways to have this shape, and again, it's no big deal if you ever accomplish it or not, but I know some of you want to play with that. We just play gently, touch into the sensation if it gets too sharp, too demanding. Like, oh, right there it is. That's as far as I'm going. Stay, stay, stay. Come back down. Use the support. All right, go away, Charlie. Go on. Oh, you don't want to? Let's rest. Legs up on the wall, head on the bolster. Nice and easy. Let's interlock the fingers under the head. Close your eyes. Turn your head to the left. Nice, easy, simple, passive extension on the knees. Bring your head to the center and change the interlock of the fingers. Turn to the right. your head back to the middle. Release your hands to your sides. And bend your knees. Push back. Roll to one side. Come on up. Have a seated shape. Charlie, your camera shyness is going away. Charlie's usually just off camera, but today he's coming right in. All right. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope these ideas and these shapes about malasana and working into the knees and maybe gently playing with this idea of standing right up out of the squat shape. I know some of you have it already, but some of you might be working toward it. And so these insights I hope are helpful. Thank you very much. Namaste.